Oh, hello there. I'm Kaz. Have I talked about Fire Emblem?
Fire Emblem and Mario RPGs aside.
Fire Emblem Kakusei, Fire Emblem games, Fire Emblem series, Fire Emblem Awakening. Oh, by the way, Nintendo, in case you're thinking of, doing this with one of your own series, might I suggest... Just give it a thought, Nintendo. Maybe once or twice. But for as much as I've actually talked about Fire Emblem, I haven't exactly gone into detail about what exactly the Fire Emblem is. So, allow me to make amends for my mistakes. This is going to answer the question of what exactly the Fire Emblem is. Now, I know this is supposed to be an introduction to the Western retrospective, but since this is the very first of the Fire Emblem videos, this will be taking a look at all the Fire Emblem games released thus far, minus Awakening. Now keep in mind, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you have any interest in playing any of these games, stop right now. Okay, let's get started. The first three titles, as well as the respective remakes, take place in the same universe and therefore all have the same Fire Emblem, although in the second title, Fire Emblem Gaiden, the Fire Emblem is only seen at the title screen. The first ever Fire Emblem was known as the Shield of Seals, forged from one of the fangs of the divine dragon Naga. From another one of her fangs came the Falchion, the sword of which only the bloodline of Henri may wield. In its prime form, the shield had several jewels on it and was used to seal away Earth dragons, hence the name Shield of Seals. However, the shield was stolen by a thief named Adra, who would later become the founder of the nation and kingdom of Akania. The thief removed the gemstones from the shield, thus weakening the seal holding the Earth dragons. Since the shield had brought Adra so much luck, he made it the royal family treasure and named it the Fire Emblem. The Fire Emblem would later be wielded by the Duke of Carta against Medius, although it would be Henri that slayed the Earth Dragon Medius and won the war. At a later, unknown and unspecified date in the games, the Shield of Seals became cursed. The actual origin of this curse tends to differ between games and their remakes. The original explanation for the curse of the Fire Emblem, the family heir of Akania, was originally explained in Moshno no Nazo. When Adra stole the shield and removed the orbs from it, a curse was placed on him, the wielders of it, and his family. In the North American release of Shadow Dragon, it's implied that Princess Artemis placed the curse after marrying Carta, as she loved the hero Henri, but could not marry a peasant such as him, as Henri was not a king until after the war. This version of the curse's origin is actually seen thematically with the relationship between Camus and Nina, the knight and princess in Shadow Dragon who love each other, but due to Camus's death, they can no longer be an item, and Nina marries a man she doesn't love, Hardin. Even if he had survived the event of what was known as the War of Shadows, there is a chance that Camus may not have been able to marry Nina since Camus is not a noble, he was a soldier of the Grest army. That is until Moshno no Nazo where, okay, I'm gonna try to keep the spoilers minimum. Let's move on to the fourth and fifth game. In Season no Keifu in Thracia 776, the Fire Emblem is actually never seen, but is said to be the symbol of Altomer in the game's ending. It is the most briefly described and loosely plot-tied out of all the Fire Emblems in Fire Emblem's history. In the Alab series, the Fire Emblem is the imperial seal of the nation Bern. In Rekan no Ken, it was used for ceremonial purposes for marking the heir to the throne, as seen with Zephiel, and hence why the king of Bern contacted the Black Fang to steal it. The Fire Emblem actually didn't show any special properties till 20 years later in Fuen no Tsurugi, where it was used to unseal certain areas such as the Dragon Temple and the Sword of Seals itself. In the two Alab titles, the Fire Emblem never appears physically, although in the manga Hashino no Tsurugi, we see the Fire Emblem is relatively small, able to be held in one's hand, and it looks a lot like a pendant with a dragon holding some sort of gem. In Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones, the Fire Emblem is the name given to Grato's Sacred Stone. Unlike the other stones, Grato's Stone contains the soul of the Demon King within it. When the stone is separated into a Sacred Stone and the Dark Stone in an attempt to save Lion's father, his success ultimately makes him and his father puppets for the Demon King's soul, and the Fire Emblem is physically destroyed. The only time ever done in Fire Emblem's history. In the Telly's titles Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, the Fire Emblem is known as Leiron's Medallion. Who is Leiron, you may ask? Long story. Leiron was a Heron-leg who hated Ashura against Yune and imprisoned the god in the medallion in the first place. After marrying the hero Altina, a Beorc, they bared the first branded child, the first in the long line of Benyon's empresses, and Leiron became neither Laguz nor Beorc, but something else entirely. Leiron's medallion would be passed down until it landed in the hands of the Serenus princess, Lilia. Around 800 years later, the medallion landed in the hands of Elena, the mother of Ike and Mist, who became good friends with Lilia as she was caring for her in the Palmani temple where she was trapped. Unfortunately, while Elena could touch the fire emblem with no side effects, when her husband Grail laid his hands on the medallion, he went berserk and slaughtered many people. It was only after Elena had removed it from his hands that he returned to normal, an act which cost her life at the end of Grail's own blade. If you're wondering why the medallion caused him to go insane, it's because the medallion amplifies the balance between chaos and order with an excess of order, making the worst qualities of a person multiplied 1,000-fold. During the event of Path to Radiance, Ashnard plans to cause a war on such a chaotic and large enough scale to awaken the Dark God, but is thwarted by Ike and companions. If you play in Hard or Maniac mode, when you defeat Ashnard, Ashnard touches the medallion, but still retains a part of his sanity as you fight him for a second time. Why this is, I can't confirm, though it's implied that Ashnard is already such an insane and chaotic man, that the medallion's effect wasn't as strong as it would be on a normal being. In Radiant Dawn, it is revealed that the Dark God is instead a childlike entity named Muni that was painted as a Dark God by the dragon Laguz King to discourage warfare. Releasing her from her slumber through the Galder of Release before the millennium-long sleep by Micaiah, the other goddess, the goddess of order, Ashura, froze most of the people except for a chosen few of Benyons and the subjects of Yune. Of course, Radiant Dawn also retconned a lot of things in the plot that made the story even weaker, like Ashnard wasn't insane, he killed his family because... we'll get to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn eventually, but that's all the Fire Emblems and their forms to date, minus Awakening. Though, speaking of which, I do have to ask, does this look familiar to anyone? Anyone? Nope? Well, okay. So now you know more about what exactly the Fire Emblem is. Tune in next time where we actually get into the very first game released for North America in the Fire Emblem Western Retrospective with Fire Emblem Reckono Ken, also known as Fire Emblem the Blazing Sword, also known as Fire Emblem. Until next time, game on, my friends.